A great rider can ride any sport ATV well, but few machines make almost any rider or riding experience better. In our 2014 in-depth review of the Yamaha Raptor 700R, we found it to lend itself beautifully to most any adult-sized rider with a little off-road experience. The Raptor's phenomenal performance and handling thrill the highly experienced, while its rideability provides a novice with the confidence to relax. In 2015, Yamaha added 10% more horsepower, focused at the bottom end and mid-range, making the engine feel even more unstoppable under load. New suspension settings featured slightly firmer spring rates up front, with softer initial compression damping and reduced rebound damping. Travel was increased 2mm. The rear shock received 5mm more spring preload, plus slightly increased compression and rebound damping. New, taller 22-inch front Maxxis tires were designed to roll more smoothly through bumps, while improving directional control in sand or loose dirt. Based in Ohio and testing in the sand of the gorgeous Oregon dunes, while the engine updates were apparent, the other changes were a little harder to fully evaluate. With that in mind, we acquired a 2016 Yamaha Raptor 700R to put to the test in our neck of the woods. ATV On Demand's test of the 2016 Yamaha Raptor 700R was made possible by GBC XC Master tires are designed to meet the high endurance demands of cross-country racing and riding, featuring a puncture-resistant 6-ply carcass and a tall X-knob tread pattern, delivering superior traction, handling, and durability in all conditions. Remastered and ready to race, GBC XC Master tires. If your ATV has a performance exhaust, it needs a performance intake to match. Used by champions like Chad Wienen and Walker Fowler, Fuel Customs intakes are engineered and built in the United States with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, providing increased horsepower and throttle response on engine builds from mild to wild. To evaluate the diversity of the Raptor's performance capabilities, we hit the trails at Haspin Acres in Laurel, Indiana, and a private practice track in northern Kentucky. Test riders included 44-year-old 5'8", 196-pound Rob Ray, a highly experienced play rider accustomed to pushing stock sport ATVs to the limit, and 18-year-old 155-pound Jordan Trimble, a C-Class national motocross racer. The Raptor 700R is powered by a liquid-cooled 4-stroke engine, featuring a 4-valve double overhead cam head design. It reaches its 686cc displacement with a bore and stroke of 102 by 84 millimeters. Last year's 10% horsepower gain was the result of a new single exhaust port head, featuring a higher compression piston, raised from 9.2 to 10:1. In addition to a new cam profile, redesigned exhaust system with stainless steel header, and revised fuel injection settings. The compression ratio is still on the conservative side for a modern sport ATV, allowing for excellent reliability and the use of cheap pump gas. The air-fuel mixture is handled by a Yamaha fuel injection system, delivered via a 44mm throttle body. The engine is mated to a 5-speed manual transmission with reverse. Final drive is handled by a DID X-ring chain. Electric start brings the Raptor's engine to life. What's always made this engine so brilliant is that you can lug it around at a good pace, or rev it up and let it rip. Now on our second go-around with the updated motor, it's apparent that it does both a bit better than before. The engine starts pulling immediately off idle, with enough torque and horsepower below half throttle that it easily chugs its way up hills. Exiting turns at gear high, the engine snaps to life, picking up speed with authority when you crack the throttle, without the need to slip the clutch in search of RPMs. Barely reaching the mid-range, power delivery is seamless as you enter the meat of the power band. Just get the big 700 spun up a little bit. It shreds corners and feels unstoppable on climbs. On the track or faster trails, the 700 builds RPMs quickly for a big single, getting you up to speed in a hurry. Power continues to build into the lower top end before gradually tapering off, keeping you off the rev limiter, increasing reliability. Its engine is friendly enough for those with basic skills to grow into, with enough performance potential that it's virtually impossible to grow out of. Thanks to the manufacturers being forced to run their engines super lean at low RPMs to meet emission standards, the Raptor's engine has a slight hesitation right off idle, which you don't really notice when riding. It flared out a couple of times when hitting the gas right on idle under 5 miles per hour when there was no forward momentum to keep the engine churning. While it's definitely not a necessity, adding an aftermarket fuel controller like the Dynajet Power Commander 5, available through Yamaha's GYTR line of accessories, will allow you to richen up the fuel map, which should make the engine feel more stall-proof while adding horsepower across the board. According to Fuel Customs and DASA Racing, simply bolting on an exhaust, intake, and well-tuned fuel controller will yield around 5 more peak horsepower than an equally outfitted YFZ 450R, while enjoying a much broader power band and more torque. Gear ratios are nearly spot on for taking advantage of the engine's super broad power curve. First gear is low enough to tool around without touching the clutch, while fifth seems to stretch into the speed of light. With a wide ratio gearbox, we noticed a very small, unobtrusive gap between third and fourth gears in years past that's nearly disappeared with the engine's added horsepower and torque. The Raptor was the first ATV to utilize a hybrid aluminum and steel chassis, allowing Yamaha to maximize strength where needed while saving weight where possible. A removable aluminum subframe, cast aluminum swing arm, and aluminum upper A-arms all add up in weight savings. Front-end geometry is very similar to the original YFZ 450, with the A-arms mounted closely together, preventing unwanted bump steer. KYB shocks at both ends feature spring preload, high and low speed compression, and rebound damping adjustments. They control an impressive 9.1 inches of suspension travel up front and 10.1 inches of linkage-assisted travel out back. The suspension received new settings at both ends last year to complement the increased power and new 1-inch taller 22-inch front Maxxis tires. The rear shock received 5mm more spring preload, plus slightly stiffer compression and rebound damping. The front shocks received a slight 2mm increase in travel. The dual-rate front springs received a slightly stiffer spring rate throughout both stages. Compression damping was slightly decreased in the first part of the stroke, and rebound damping was decreased. 2015's taller front tires were added for smoother rolling through bumps, while a flatter profile and 20% stiffer sidewalls were designed to help reduce body roll in corners. The 22-710 front and 2010-9 rear Maxxis tires are mounted on lightweight aluminum wheels. The Raptor measures in at 45.5 inches wide with a 50.4-inch wheelbase. In spite of its big 700 engine, the Raptor is relatively light with a claimed wet weight of 422 pounds, only 17 pounds more than the nearly race-ready YFZ 450R. Over roots and rocks, both riders found the Raptor suspension action to be quite good right out of the box, with adjustment left in reserve to soften things up for lighter or more casual riders. The suspension does a good job of sheltering the rider from the square-edged hits of roots and rocks, keeping the tires in contact with the trail and biting. Overall, the ride is notably plusher than your typical 450, a wonderful thing on long trail rides. The front shocks do a good job of keeping body roll under control, in corners and on side hills, while still remaining active over bumps, helping to maintain stability and directional control. On the track, we immediately found the need to add preload to the front shocks and increased compression to 4 clicks from full stiff. This better balanced their bottoming resistance with the rear end. This is a little different than we recall from our 2014 test. While the jumps we were hitting were a bit bigger this time around, the softer feeling front end may have also had to do with the shock's softer initial compression damping, allowing the front shocks to build up more velocity on big hits. 5 minutes of suspension tuning transformed the Raptor from trail plush into a whoop-pounding, jump-eating play machine for the track or desert. We give the rear shock an edge in dealing with imperfect jump landings. In whoops, the suspension doesn't bottom out, rarely deflects, or does anything unexpected. If things start to get a little unsettled, just hit the gas and the Raptor straightens right out. The bottom line is, these shocks are still very adjustable, and a rider in the 160 to 200 pound range should be able to dial them in for anything, from the trail to an occasional visit to the track. You can save $500 by purchasing the base model Raptor 700, which features shocks with preload adjustment only, in addition to a couple other smaller downgrades. Having experienced the added performance and versatility the 700R's fully adjustable KYB shocks provide, we feel they're worth every penny. Steering is quick and accurate. The narrow 45.5-inch width and nimble steering let you bob and weave the 700 through tight trails. On wide open trails or the track, you can carry surprising speed through corners. With its taller motor and trail width, if you try and drive too hard into corners, the Raptor will start to two-wheel a little easier than a wider lower 450cc class machine like the YFZ 450R. With predictable handling and power on tap everywhere in the RPMs, you can simply lean forward, crack the throttle, and power slide through turns at a higher rate of speed. The Raptor responds equally well to directional inputs from the front or back end. Mild high-speed nervousness from years past seems to have been reduced a bit thanks to the Raptor's taller front tires. Weight balance is good both on the ground and in the air, and the Raptor flies straight off of jumps. Separate hydraulic disc brakes with dual piston calipers at both ends provide stopping power equal to the Raptor's tremendous engine. The brakes offer smooth progressive action, making it easy to stay hooked up on steep downhills or lock the rear end up on demand. The parking brake offers simple one-hand operation. The Raptor's cockpit is spacious. Riders just over 5 feet tall can manage the machine, while those above 6 feet tall still have plenty of room to move around. While not YFZ 450R slim, the midsection is easy to grip with your knees. The seat is plush enough for extended trail rides, yet flat enough to easily move around on for impressive riding. With a 32.7-inch seat height, the relationship between the seat and foot pegs makes getting in and out of the saddle easy. 45mm wide foot pegs are just over 1 3/4 inches wide, offering solid, comfortable footing. The front brake lever is adjustable in reach for different size hands. Overall, the cockpit puts you in a good position for aggressive riding, while its slightly taller seated handlebar height keep you in comfort and control on long rides. Fit and finish are for the most part superb. The plastic is high quality, although pretty susceptible to scratching. Our riders' boots mangle the finish of the lower rear fenders after just a couple rides. We'd like to see Yamaha start using the matte finish plastic on the Raptor's high wear areas that they use on sections of the YFZ 450R and their utility ATVs. We'd also like to see the quick release fasteners used on the YFZ 450R's bodywork added to the Raptor, speeding the time needed to remove the plastic for maintenance. Air filter access is an easy no-tools procedure, although we wouldn't mind the addition of a flange and clamp-on style filter for added security, similar to the one available through Yamaha's GYTR line of accessories. There are many of us who already own and love the mighty Raptor 700R, and a number of others who are simply missing out. In its decade of existence, the Raptor has seen a number of improvements, perhaps most significantly its early upgrade to higher-end adjustable shocks, and most recently, its notable improvement in engine performance. In the near future, we'd love to see a 49 or 50-inch wide version of the Raptor, making it even better for the dunes, the desert, the track, and all of the 60-inch wide trails being cut for UTVs. With proper maintenance, the Raptor is a very reliable machine. The engine will last longer with less frequent oil changes than the typical 450, just keep your air filter clean. Nimble handling, very adjustable high-performance suspension, all-day comfort, and a blisteringly fast, easy-to-manage engine make the Raptor 700R the ultimate ride where you like, as fast as you like sport ATV. In our opinion, no other four-wheeled machine delivers the fun and thrills of a fast, light, and nimble-handling sport ATV. And very few sport ATVs past or present can compete with the overall performance of the 2016 Yamaha Raptor 700R. For more information on the Raptor 700R and Yamaha's full line of sport ATVs, visit YamahaMotorsports.com.